How old is your dogs? Hey.
7 years old.
Hello. Hi. Hi. Yeah. Yeah.
We went through Ethiopia when we had our trip to Zambia.
Okay.
So that's how I was a little bit familiar with it.
Okay. So you went to
So
Ethiopia.
we went through Ethiopia, the Ethiopian airport, you know, and we knew we were there because there were people setting up little coffee rituals all over the place.
Okay.
That, oh, I know what those guys are doing.
Yeah, thank you for making coffee for me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Sorry I got lost to get here, but
That's all right, as long as you got time.
yes, I do.
I don't have anything going on today.
Yeah.
Just trying to get around to my usual tasks.
Okay.
And, you know, I mean, it's tax time, and I've been avoiding, I'm Steve's guardian right now, so there's a bunch of paperwork I have to fill out for him.
Oh, okay.
So you gonna get me on Facebook here? Or
Yeah, we're making it. They were debating the Ethiopian farmers back home,
Yeah.
and half of them they're they have a barefoot.
The
And-
farmers are barefoot?
Yeah,
Uh-huh.
and some of them they have shoes. They say no. The other guy was saying I don't need the shoes. I like to walk barefoot, and I can afford, or
Yeah.
maybe for 3 months. No, just like that. And,
Yeah.
so I'm glad I met you. Yeah, it's been 5 years now.
Yeah.
And
Well, I think the last time I came over to your place, I was already well into it.
yeah. Thank you for the call.
Yeah, you bet. It's a little hot. So.
Here is Brother Corey. Let's see, Brother Corey, would you tell us about yourself and your prior job before we met in the church,
Okay.
and how long you've been walking without the shoes and the barefoot?
Oh, okay, yeah. Well, let's see. My original training was in aerospace engineering, and I quit that job in 1997 when my wife graduated medical school, and then I homeschooled our children. So we homeschooled our kids all the way from 2000 to about 2014. And that was when Jessica graduated, sometime around then. And so my last job would have been as a homeschool teacher. And let's see, I started barefooting 4.5 years ago. And what brought it to my attention was an article in a creationist magazine called that's put out by one of the Answers in Genesis. And they had an article in the magazine that was about, the human foot. So they do all kinds of exploration in, the animal kingdom and parts of the body that were really fascinating. How did this evolve and how did that evolve? They believe that it's all God's design. And so this article said, let's take a look at the human foot. How did God design the human foot to work? And so the article is about, there are two natural arches that serve as shock absorbers in the foot. There's a there's a pulley system that allows you to stand up on your tiptoes. There's many bones in your feet. Like 1/4 of the bones in your body are below your ankles.
Wow.
And all kinds of muscles and ligaments and all that kind of stuff makes your feet almost as complex as your hands. You know how much you can do with your hands. Your feet also have a lot of complexity. So the point that the article made was, we do our feet a disservice by putting them in a shoe, because a shoe is like a cast. Whenever you put something in a cast, the muscles get weak.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah. I want to be on the light here. Yeah, that's much better. Okay.
So you can move all that stuff stuff.
Okay, thanks.
Anyway, when you put your foot when you put your foot in a shoe, the shoe actually freezes the structure of your foot into the shape of the shoe. And so people who wear shoes all the time, their feet get weak as a result of being in the shoe. Okay, the muscles don't get exercised. The what's called an arch support actually is what prevents the arches from functioning the way they're supposed to function. Because an arch is like a shock absorber. But if you put a support in there, it keeps it from flexing like it should, then it's not absorbing the shock to the rest of your body either. And so it weakens your foot, basically. Now, the other element of a lot of shoes is that they have a heel, usually a fairly high heel.
Okay.
Even men's shoes, that throws your whole balance a little bit to the forward direction, and so the rest of your body has to compensate for what the heel does.
Wow.
Okay. And then there's a toe spring in most shoes that allows your foot to rock, okay, but it also puts pressure on the front end of your foot that's not normally there. Okay, so your foot's designed to sit on the floor in a certain way.
Yes.
The shoe forces it to sit on the floor in a different way. So.
Okay. Was that you the only one from your family, or?
Actually, Jessica was the first one that, without kind of telling us why, just said one summer, I'm going to just take the whole summer and not going to wear shoes at all.
Then she did.
But that was before she did, yeah, and that was before I really knew anything about it, and she had already kind of come across this. We had kind of known, I kind of heard, I remember hearing one time, oh, there's some people out there that never wear shoes. I'm like, well, that's strange.
Yeah, okay.
But then when I read this article, it's just all of a sudden everything clicked for me. It's okay, I can see that. And then, and what really made it click for me at that time was there was a couple paragraphs toward the end where it said, well, there's no law in any state that says you can't drive barefoot. And so I thought, well, that's kind of cool. And then it said, also, you've heard there are health codes that keep you from going barefoot in restaurants and grocery stores.
Oh,
that's a myth too. There are no health codes that talk about whether patrons of a store or a restaurant have to wear shoes, because there's no logical connections in terms of sanitation between your feet and the food you're eating or the food that you're buying.
Okay.
And my shoes or my feet bring as much dirt into the store as someone's shoes do. And I'm not handling food with my feet.
Okay.
So when it says no shirt, no shoes, no service by order of the health department, that's a myth. That's not true. There's no order of any health department that says that you have to wear shoes anywhere. So I thought, well, I'm going to try this out. And so I started going barefoot.
Right after Jessica, right? Yeah.
This was after Jessica had done it, yeah. Okay. This is it could have been maybe a year later.
Okay.
And so I was challenged by that. And it turned out, that very weekend after I read this article, I had a conference that I was going to in Chicago.
Okay.
So I said, I want to try this out. I'm going to go to Chicago and back without shoes. I had something with me in my backpack just in case, to make sure I could get on the airplane. But I did it.
Wow.
I drove to the airport. I went through security. Of course, you don't need shoes in security anyway. Got on the airplane, flew to Chicago, got off the airplane, found my rental car, went to the place we were staying, did the conference. We had some other. We went down to downtown Chicago and walked around down there and went out to the beach and on Sunday we went to a Cubs game at Wrigley Field, and then I came back all the way back and never wore shoes the whole time.
Wow.
This is I've only been going barefoot for 1 week.
Okay.
So
the first time, probably 5 years ago, when we attended service at your church, and you were, preaching, then I see her. Oh wow, this guy, gentleman, he dressed up nice, had a tie, and then when I see you right there's no shoes. What happened? I was just like, I say I can't wait till I ask him. Just like. What happened? So you spot us, all of us. Hey, you just come introduce yourself, and we didn't talk that much though, but
Well, there's there's certain social situations where you have to. It's kind of expected.
Okay.
But early on, I went to Adam and I said, "Hey, I'm getting kind of serious about this. I'd like to go barefoot all the time."
Wow.
And is that going to be okay? I'm kind of a leader in the church. Hey, I don't care. If you think you've got a good reason for that. And,
look, the pastor not barefoot. Okay.
Yeah, and there are a lot of. There is the spiritual reason, like I said, associated with creation. God has created our feet for a purpose in a certain way, and yet I feel like we maybe squander that purpose by using shoes too much. Right?
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
So, more health reasons. Okay, so there's just that fact that it's keeping your foot from flexing the way it should. The other thing is that if you look at people who wear shoes all the time, what happens to their feet is the toes get stuck together, and even the big toes will turn in. And sometimes people's toes will even cross over each other.
That's correct. Yeah.
And that's from wearing shoes all the time. Mm. So cultures that don't wear shoes all the time, like in Papua New Guinea or the Philippines or India, you look at their feet and their toes spread out.
Oh, yes, it was freely moving.
There's space.
There's space between.
Free.
That's correct.
But cultures where everyone wears shoes, their toes get malformed. They get scrunched together.
Yeah.
And that's not healthy for your foot.
Hey, good morning. How are you?
Hi, Steve.
Steve.
You want to eat a little breakfast here?
Let me move.
You remember McConan?
Yeah, the church we met.
You remember him?
McConan.
Conan.
Yeah. How was it? Yeah. Good to see you. Yeah.
So,
and totally okay.
So
go ahead.
long term, it malforms your foot. Okay. Also, things like corns and calluses and bunions, all of those are usually caused by shoes. Okay. So, like I used to have a callus on the bottom of my foot from when I wore shoes. But over the 4 or 5 years I've been doing it, gradually that callus has gone away. Mm-hmm. So, people who are, whenever your foot is subjected to a lot of friction all the time, those kinds of things develop.
Right.
The corns, the calluses, the bunions, the bumps, and all those kinds of things come from shoes. They don't come from anywhere else.
Yes.
Okay. So those factors are at play in terms of your foot health. The next factor has to do with the temperature and humidity inside of your sock and your shoe. Okay. Why do people's feet smell? Well, it's because of the shoes they wear. Okay, because inside your sock and your shoe, the temperatures get up, around 100 degrees, and your feet start to sweat. And that's a perfect breeding place for bacteria.
No kidding.
Including the bacteria that creates that smell of stinky feet. Okay, my feet never smell because they can't, it's a hostile environment for bacteria.
Okay.
Same is true for fungus, foot fungus. Foot fungus, it grows in a hot, warm, moist environment. But if your feet are not ever in a hot, warm, moist environment, then the fungus doesn't grow.
Wow.
Okay. Now, I wash my feet every day in the shower.
Okay.
But most people I know don't wash their shoes every day.
No.
Or the inside of their shoes every day.
Okay.
So your shoe gets dirtier and dirtier and dirtier. You change your socks, but your shoe, it gets dirtier and dirtier and dirtier as long as you're wearing it. And so it creates
those kinds of issues too,
Yeah.
just in terms of the bacteria and the fungus.
Okay. How many of you from your family and walking with a barefoot total?
Well, my wife goes barefoot when she can. As a doctor, she doesn't go barefoot around the office or anything like that, but she likes to go barefoot as often as I do,
Okay.
if she can. So, if we're just walking around town in the summer, she'll go barefoot.
Yeah.
She's not as tolerant to cold.
Okay.
Now, since I've been doing it for 4.5 years, I'm pretty tolerant to cold weather.
Okay.
So as long as I'm not going out for a long time, I can walk from the car to the building or from the building back to the car through snow.
Oh.
And it doesn't bother me at all.
Yeah.
In fact, that's the other aspect is that your feet, okay, here's another thing that's true about your physiology is your feet have have a density of nerve endings comparable to your hands. Like the highest density of nerve endings is on the bottom of your feet. And that's so that your foot can react to everything it encounters as it's carrying you around. So it can react, if you step on a rock, it can react to that right away. Plus they're just the pleasure of different sensations on your feet versus just a single, all you can feel is the inside of your shoe.
Okay. How did you handle the cold season? For example, we have snow and are you able to walk a long distance or it doesn't matter?
It depends on how cold.
Okay.
So down to about 20 degrees, I can stay out indefinitely because my body says, oh, it's cold, let's send some blood down to the foot.
Yeah, yeah.
And so my feet turn bright pink and it keeps them warm.
Okay.
So even in the snow, I can be fairly comfortable. I mean, I don't prefer freezing cold weather, but it doesn't bother me either. Now below 20 degrees, then you got a danger of frostbite. So there's a certain length of time that you can be barefoot in that zone without having to worry about it. But if I'm out for more than 2 minutes, that's kind of my rule. If it's going to be more than 2 minutes, I'll wear boots just like anyone else to protect my feet from frostbite.
Yeah, okay.
So, but on a day like today, it's in the 20s. I could go out for a walk and it wouldn't bother me.
Okay, and then come
So,
back. Okay.
Yeah.
The other question I have.
You want your soda?
Yeah. That's Steve. Yeah.
That one? Okay.
The other question I have, I don't know if I recorded when I was there. I didn't see it.
Okay.
And how long you been working your first job, and what was your job? I think it was a space engineering something. Can you tell me a little bit?
The aerospace engineering?
Yeah.
Yeah, I started that. I worked for McDonnell Douglas from the time I was in college. I was a co-op engineer. And that was in 1985 that I started. And I stayed with them until 1997.
Wow.
So I left McDonnell Douglas as a lead engineer back then. I had no concept of any problem with shoes at the time. It didn't even occur to me.
Yeah, okay.
That's what you run into all the time. It's like, why are you wearing shoes? It's like, it doesn't even occur to people that you need it.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, well, thank you so much. Yeah, that's a very good information.
Okay. Now,
Go ahead.
Right, so generally speaking, okay, in terms of health,
Yes.
people are worried that you're going to step on something.
Okay.
Glass or a nail or whatever. And in 4.5 years, I've never stepped on a nail or a piece of glass that cut me.
Wow.
Stepped on little thorns sometimes, those kinds of things, sandburrs.
Yeah.
But I've never had any trouble with stepping on something that hurt me really bad.
Okay, that's very good to hear. That safety reason. Yeah.
The ground is not as dangerous as people think it is. And think about it, I mean, people seem to be the only creature on Earth that think they need to protect themselves from the ground that they're walking on. Like, well, why?
Yeah.
And like I said, I mean, there's some cultures where people never wear shoes.
That's true. Yeah, that's why I came up with this. To set up an interview with you. I was watching in one of the documentaries, and the guy back in Ethiopia. There were about 12, if I'm not mistaken. And half of them they wore the shoes, and half of them just barefoot. Yeah. And they have a debate. Yeah, well, you don't need this, and the other guy, I can't afford this, and I say, well, immediately, it came up in my mind. I say, I gotta go and ask Corey. So I left him a note. I'm gonna try to get this, and I'll send it to you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you.
Well, yeah. I mean, the first 6 months that I went barefoot full time, my feet would tingle a little bit. Okay. But then, the skin thickened up a little bit, and soon I could see that, well, actually, this is really the way we're supposed to be walking. This is like what we're created for, This, my foot just naturally adjusted to it, And if you looked at my feet and said, this is what feet look like after never wearing shoes for 4.5 years, they'd be more healthy looking than most people's shod feet look.
Okay.
So where's the danger? Is the danger in maybe stepping on something that'll hurt you, or is the danger in causing long-term damage to your feet by having them in shoes all the time? I favor not wearing shoes.
Not wearing shoes. Yeah, I agree with you.
Yeah.
And thank you so much for the time you took, to explain for us about this and. Barefoot you've been walking.
Oh yeah,
it's a blessing to meet you, and I'm glad to see you again today. And
there's a lot more to be said, but there's a group. There's a website, barefooters.org.
Okay.
Where they talk about all the different benefits of going barefoot. There's a Facebook group.
All right, I'll try to find that.
Yeah, called the Society for Barefoot Living.
Okay.
That. It's like it has 7,500 members on it, and it's not unheard of out there. There are a bunch of people that do it.
Yeah, and the funny thing is, I don't know if you heard, we had a long distance runner. His name was Ababa Bikila, and he was just won the marathon with a barefoot.
Yeah,
and that was one example of.
Yeah, I run barefoot. I run 5Ks barefoot around here, like in Lyons and in Oakland. Whenever they have a 5K locally here, I'll run barefoot in those. And I think it's better. I think you run better with a better form, and you can run faster.
Yep, you should be proud of yourself. Yeah, that's very good. Yeah, that's nice.
Because you're leaning into your stride. You're letting your weight take you forward. Whereas someone in shoes will have a heel strike, which actually is counter to the direction you're trying to go.
Yeah.
So, I think runners should be allowed to go barefoot if they want to. The best running shoe there is. If they let our cross country runners run barefoot, and if these kids took it seriously, they would be improving their time by 2 minutes on every 5K. Wow. That's my belief.
Okay. Well, you heard the conversation with Brother Corey and myself, and so I'm trying to wrap up this and try to meet you, and thank you for listening.